That's all right. That's fine. Just keep going. Hey, he's back. He's finally singing again.
Yeah.
Welcome to CAPECAST. We are back this week, and we are reviewing the newly released Wonder Woman 84. We've got a couple of special guests here joining us.
Hello, special guests.
My wife, Katie. Hi, Katie.
Hi.
Hello, Katie.
And Brandon's musical comrade, David. How are you doing, David?
Hello,
Doing
David.
well. How are you?
Good. Doing good. Brandon?
We've got the whole band on the CiNEMACHiNE podcast.
Yeah, where's Rusty?
Now?
Yeah.
We had Rusty for the last ep. Got David this ep. Maybe one day we'll have both of them. That'd be nice.
You should do it.
The world couldn't handle it.
Yeah. Want to ease them in, you know?
Yeah. So I guess we can kind of jump right into things. Well, before we do that, I guess I'll share that we love talking movies with each other, but we also like talking about movies with you guys. And we wanted to invite you to follow us on Twitter at CAPECAST Show. We've always got some geeky stuff going on there. And then we also have a weekly show where we review movies called CiNEMACHiNE, and you can follow all the goings on with CiNEMACHiNE at CiNEMACHiNE Pod on Instagram. So let's nice shirts, by the way, Katie and Brandon.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Yeah, look at that.
Thanks.
Did you guys call each other up, decide what you're gonna wear tonight?
Yep.
This is my low effort option. I didn't have to think about it.
Oh,
Just
okay.
wear merch.
All right, so let's
You
go.
can find this merch at CiNEMACHiNEPod.com.
Shameless plug. Yeah.
There you go.
So let's go ahead and go around the room.
What are we reviewing? Have we said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Come on, Brandon, pay attention.
I was
Keep
typing
up.
something.
Keep up. So Brandon, we'll kick off with you. You can show these guys how it's done.
Oh, man.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's see. Initial thoughts. So I was not a fan of this movie, unfortunately, and I kind of knew going into it that I wasn't going to be, just based on some of the trailers, some of the initial, I guess, feedback that I had seen online about kind of the tone and some of the scenes that they had put out, specifically the mall scene. They had put that out, and I was like, oh no. It just doesn't appeal to my sensibilities. I kind of understand what they were doing with it. And I mean, Ryan, and as the two of you guys also know, we love DC. We love these movies for the most part. I mean, there are outliers, but I was at announcement, I was excited for this movie. And as the months and years kind of went on, and kind of seeing the state of DC on film kind of dwindle in front of me, I got less and less enthused. And also with the like delays that kind of, continued to happen, I was just like, all right, let's just watch this. I'm ready to watch it and get it over with. So
For sure.
there were some things that I did like about this movie, but they are few and far between, on the whole. I will say this though. I watched this with my 6-year-old daughter, who was excited to see this movie. And we could just cut right now and go to her review of this film and just kind of get her reaction and see, just to kind of inject some positivity at least.
I think it might be all downhill after that. But yes, please.
I think that that might be the best foot forward, just to give those of you that do listen or do watch, and you did enjoy this, that would be probably a good idea to do if you did like that movie.
And have kids.
Let's cut to Luna Bell Duncan's review of Wonder Woman 84.
Roll it.
All right. All right, let's do it. All right, so I am here today with Luna Bell Duncan. Luna, say hey.
Hello.
And we watched a movie last night, and I wanted to get her thoughts on it. How old are you, Luna?
6.
6 years old. So last night, her and her mom and myself. We went down into the theater and we watched Wonder Woman 1984.
This one.
That one. Yep, that's the one. It was a surprise. You didn't know that we were going to watch it, did you?
Yeah.
You did? Somebody ruined it for you, didn't they? Who told you that it was out?
Meg.
Yeah. Thanks, Meg. Ruined the surprise.
It's okay.
Okay. Well, anyway. You're rolling your eyes. Goofy. Okay. So Luna's been wanting to be on the podcast for a while now, haven't you? Every time you would see our video, when can I be on the podcast? Well, guess what? Today is the day. You're on the podcast. Welcome. Is there anything that you'd like to say now that you're on the podcast? Just going to giggle. Okay.
Na, 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 na.
All right. So Luna, most people know this, but in case they don't, Wonder Woman is your favorite superhero, right?
Right.
Yeah. Who's your second favorite superhero? Just curious. Do you have a second favorite? You don't know? Batman? Oh, okay. Batgirl?
Not really.
Has to be a girl, right?
Right.
Yeah. Those are the requirements. So, all right. So we watched Wonder Woman 1984 last night. And we do this every time we see a movie. We have a little book. Actually, can you grab that book right there? Okay. So this is a book that Luna got me. I think it was like Father's Day or my birthday. I can't remember.
I don't know when I got that.
Well,
I don't know if I got that.
It's got little, we go every time we see a movie.
Yeah, we watch everything.
Yeah, right. So we write a little review, give it a star rating, that kind of thing. So
And we say our favorite part.
right.
And who's our favorite character.
Correct. So that's what we're going to do today. So out of 5 stars, that's the scale that we always grade them at. How many stars would you give Wonder Woman 1984? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
100.
100 stars? Goodness. Well, you can only give them 5.
Okay.
So how many?
5.
5. Okay. Have you ever rated a movie that's not 5 stars before?
Yeah.
Which one?
My favorite movie.
Yeah. Which one? What movie is your favorite movie?
Lord of the Rings.
Right. And how many stars did you give it? 1. And it's your favorite movie.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, so like I said before, Wonder Woman is your favorite superhero movie. Superhero character. And we had watched the first Wonder Woman maybe a year ago, I guess, and we rewatched it this week. And you didn't know that we were rewatching it in preparation for the new movie that was coming out. That was a surprise, right? Say yes. So, this is why I didn't want to have the camera right here, because you're just going to look at yourself and make faces the whole time. Okay, pay attention. Here we go.
I'm looking at you.
Okay, good. So, all right. So you gave it 5 stars.
Yeah.
So what'd you think of the movie?
It was bananas.
It was bananas, huh? Yeah.
Bananas cool.
Bananas cool. Was it jumpy? That's an adjective that you often give movies. It was jumpy, crazy, awesome, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it was bananas. You liked it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I like bananas too.
Okay,
I
good.
could eat it.
You could eat this movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it was a banana.
If it was a banana? Okay.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite character? I'm just curious.
Wonder Woman.
What? Really?
Yeah.
You're kidding.
I'm great.
Well, that was probably that was a rhetorical question, I guess.
Why does it say Luna?
Because those are the questions for Luna. That's what it says. Yeah.
I don't know what it says.
A little peek behind the curtain. They don't know that we have them written down. They're supposed to know that they're supposed to think this is organic.
What does that mean?
Well, I'll teach you one day.
Okay.
All right. So other than Wonder Woman, who is your favorite character in this movie?
Barbara.
Barbara? You like Barbara?
But I didn't like her when she had the cheetah outfit on.
Yeah, no, you wore cheetah pants
I
downstairs.
take it off because I was scared.
Yeah. And I told you that there would be a reason why you were wearing cheetah pants, and you'd learn it at some point in the movie. And whenever Barbara turned into a cheetah, you said, "Oh, I'm taking these off," didn't you?
Yep.
Because you didn't want to be associated with the bad guy. Or the bad girl, I guess, in this case. Okay, so favorite character. First favorite character was Wonder Woman. Second favorite character was Cheetah.
Barbara,
right. Yeah, you're right. Before she became Cheetah. I figured you'd say like Steve Trevor or something, because he's a good guy. But he's a boy, so you can't pick him, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay. So what did you think about Steve coming back? What did you think about that? Because, he died in the first movie.
bad.
You didn't like that?
No, because Wonder Woman was losing.
Mm-hmm. She was losing?
Mm-hmm.
Because she was losing her powers? Yeah. That was kind of the point of the movie where you made a wish, and whatever you wished for, you also had to give something up. And so the thing that Diana wished for was Steve to come back, right? But what did she have to give up? Uh-oh. I got it. What did she have to give up in order to get Steve back?
Her what powers?
Powers, right. So she started getting hurt. She got shot in the arm a couple times. She wasn't able to control her lasso as good as she could before. Yeah, so you didn't like that, did you? So
I was about to cry.
yeah. Did you cry in this movie? You did? When?
2 times.
Okay, what times were those?
Can't remember.
Yeah. Okay, well, so what was your favorite part? Take your time. Do you have a favorite part?
Yeah.
Okay, what was it? You tell me your favorite part, and I'm going to tell you my favorite part. Did you want me to go over some parts? No. Okay. She's thinking. You can see it. Wheels are turning. Did you like when Wonder Woman fought Cheetah at the end?
Mm-hmm.
Did you like when Wonder Woman and Steve were like when they were in the invisible jet? Did you like when
Actually, when they were in the invisible chat.
that was your favorite part?
Yeah.
When she made the
Chubby
jet?
man.
What'd you say?
You too.
Okay, so invisible jet was your favorite part. Did you like when she was like when they had all the tanks and stuff, and she was like flying through the air and lassoing people, and she was yeah.
Martha does.
When she learned how to fly. Did you like that part? When she got the golden armor.
This is the golden armor.
Speaking of the golden armor, at the end of the movie, there was a little cameo. I tried to explain to you what a cameo was. There was a lady at the end credits scene, and you were like, "Who was that?" And how did I explain it to you?
Can't remember.
So that was Linda Carter. That was the original Wonder Woman from the TV show, from like when your Lotley and Pop and your grandparents watched Wonder Woman on TV. So they used her as like hey, isn't this neat? We got this older actress to come and play this role of whatever her name was, Artemis or something. It wasn't Artemis, but something like that. The original golden armor lady. Right? Yeah. You didn't really like that, though, did you?
No, I just like the regular woman.
You just like regular woman. Okay.
Like the girl in this one,
Diana.
Diana.
Yeah.
When the woman call her, I don't call her Diana. So
You just call her Wonder Woman?
yeah, because I like to be Wonder Woman. I only sometimes I call her Diana when she's a
When she
daughter.
doesn't have her costume on.
Daughter.
Daughter? Okay. All right. So I told you I would tell you my favorite scene.
Yeah, and you didn't show me.
Well, I'm going to right now.
Okay.
Okay. My favorite scene was the beginning of the movie when you had young Diana and Themyscira. And they had like the Olympics type competition going on. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah.
So that was my favorite scene. I liked it a lot, actually. I thought it was really well done. I thought it was kind of cool that Diana was kind of figuring out how to take advantage of the situation and try and win the race, but she ended up getting in trouble, didn't she? There was a lesson that she wasn't ready to be a winner or something. Didn't really pay off in the end, but it was a cool scene. I thought it was well done.
I didn't like when she was.
You didn't like when she lost when Antiope stopped her from winning?
Who's Antiope?
Antiope? She's her aunt, remember?
But she died.
She died in the first movie, but this was a flashback from when she was young, you know? So she's still alive at that point. And they got to ride horses, and you love horses, right? Here, don't put your mouth up on it. Stay a little bit away from it. Okay. So, all right. So we got our favorite parts out of the way. Was there anything scary about this movie? Here, move over so they can see your pretty face. Was there anything that was scary? The kissing, probably. The kissing was
Daddy!
I didn't like it. What do I do whenever the kissing comes up? Yeah, and what do? You try and move my hand every time. Yeah. So nothing scary? Was Cheetah scary? She was a little scary? What about Max Lord?
Max, where's Max? Where?
I don't know. Is he in here? No. What about, was there anything funny in the movie? Anything stand out? You just gonna make spit bubbles in your mouth? You think this is what the people need to see?
I'm just thinking.
Yeah, you thinking? Did you think that, I'm trying to think of some funny stuff. What about when Steve was when he was wearing his clothes, like trying on all his different outfits? Did you think that was funny? Yeah. Is that pretty funny? Was there anything that was sad in the movie?
When Diana had to let Steve go.
Again, yeah, she had to let him go again. That was sad. Did you cry when she had to let Steve go? No. Yeah, but it was sad. Yeah. All right. Well, was there anything in this movie that you didn't like? So you liked a lot of this movie, but was there anything that you were like, I didn't really like that? Anything you can think of? What motion are you doing? Oh, your cheetah pants. You didn't like your cheetah pants after the movie was over? No. So, okay. So you didn't, I guess, so basically what you're saying is you didn't like Cheetah. You didn't like that Barbara turned into an actual cheetah. Yeah. Okay. But, you know, at the end of the movie, everybody kind of learned their lesson and they were like, everybody was like, I denounce my wish. And everything kind of went back to normal, right?
What does denounce mean?
It means like they give up their wish because, you know, they had every time they made a wish that they got something taken away from them. And so basically when Max Lord took back his wish, then everything kind of went back to normal. Right? Barbara turned back into Barbara.
Yeah, but what happened to Barbara when? But did she lose something?
So when Barbara was getting more powerful because she wanted to be more like Diana's, she wanted to be more like Wonder Woman. She lost her kind of her humanity, I guess, like her kindness. You know, so she turned kind of. She got all the powerful traits of Wonder Woman, that she didn't get any of the good ones. Right? Because Wonder Woman, she's about love and kindness, and if you didn't know that, the long monologue at the end would remind you that that's what she's about.
I know.
Yeah. So everybody kind of goes back to normal by the end of the movie. Nobody really pays any consequences, such as life. Okay.
I'm a Wonder Woman.
All right. I guess I have 2 more questions for you, Luna. All right. Here's one of the last questions I'm going to ask you. Okay. All right. So, which movie did you like better, the first Wonder Woman movie or this movie that we just watched?
This movie.
You like this movie better? Okay. Is there a reason why you like it better?
You're saying it.
That outfit? You like that costume?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
I'm Diana. Princess of Mascara.
Princess of the Mascara.
Princess of the Mascara.
Right. All right, so here's the last question. So the whole movie, you've got people making wishes about the thing that they want the most. What would you wish for? What if somebody came to you, if Max Lord came to you and said, "What do you want? I'll grant any wish you want." What would you say?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
I didn't want to lose my thing.
Oh, so you learned the lesson. So I guess the lesson is you got to work hard for what you get instead of just wishing for it.
But if there was a good and I won't lose anything, I would wish for 2 things.
Okay, so yeah, let's do that. This will paint this picture. You can make a wish, but you don't have to give up anything. What would you wish for?
2 things.
Okay.
Baxter and Nana.
That's sweet. So you would wish for Baxter, who is our dog that passed away, and our Nana that passed away. Yeah, that's a very good wish. You're going to make me cry on my podcast. Oh, you stinker. Okay. Well.
And I got.
No teefies.
I lost them.
You lost them. Well, you gave them to the Tooth Fairy. Yeah.
Yeah.
She gave you some monies.
She gave me some monies.
Well.
Well.
Are you just going to copy everything I say?
Right. You just don't copy me everything I say.
I see what we're doing. Okay.
I see what you're doing.
If I tickle you, you can't copy me.
Yeah, you can't copy me.
All right, babe. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Well, thanks for coming on the podcast.
And maybe we'll have you on the next time a big superhero movie, or maybe we'll review Croods 2 or Trolls or something.
Croods 2.
Yeah? Okay. All right. Well, sounds good. Well, Luna, thanks for coming. Tell everybody at home where they can find you. Where can they find you?
Me?
Yeah, where can they find you?
Here.
Here. Okay. So if you want to find Luna, you can find her here in our house. She's not on social media. She has no digital footprint besides now, I guess she's on the internet with this. So. Tell them bye.
Bye-bye.
See you later. And that was Luna's review of Wonder Woman 84. She had lots of insightful things to say, and maybe some touching things to say. If you might add, almost made me cry there for a second. And none of these guys know what I'm talking about, but you will see it when.
I look forward to that. I want to hear. I want to hear some positivity for sure.
Well, she had that in spades, so that's good.
Awesome.
But yeah, I won't say much more about my thoughts until we get into spoilers. It's towards the end, I guess, towards the bottom of the list when it comes to my DCEU ranking, which we may do later. I'm not sure if you guys are wanting to do that or not, but
sure.
Yeah. So
we'll roll it out.
It's a big miss on my part, but I'll say more later.
Gotcha. David, what do you think?
Okay. I'm gonna go off Brandon's syllabus here.
You loved it.
Well, okay, if we start with the announce.
David, I've never had David was aggressively texting me after he watched this movie.
No daring throughout.
And that's why I was like, all right, you got to come on the podcast, because he's never super passionate about, these types of
films,
things.
Really.
And so because he was so adamant about wanting to get my thoughts on this and how much disdain he had for it, I kind of felt like, all right, let's get him on this one.
So when it was announced,
hate parade.
It had the 1984 on there, and even at the time, I was like, haven't we rolled around in the 80s enough lately? But whatever, and I kind of forgot about it. Ragnarok happened, and that was 80s, or no, it was just colorful. I don't remember if it was. It was
kind of a 80s in tone.
Yeah.
But not in its execution, you got like this one was.
There's a lot of that stuff though, with like Stranger Things and
there is, and it felt a little flooded, but at the time I was like, you know what, it's whatever. And so we watched the original Wonder Woman on Christmas Eve, and everybody in the house I feel like is a fan of it. I mean, I kind of love it. I would put it in the top, not to start anything, but I'd put it in the top 5, if not top 3, last 10 years DC films.
Agreed.
So I came in from it, I guess, from the opposite direction that Brandon did. As far as like expectations, I'm like, can't be. I mean, if it's worse, can't be that much worse. Could be better.
It's interesting to hear, just because Brandon and I, because we're so into these movies, we follow all the news behind the movies. So,
and I have none of that. Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that perspective from somebody who enjoyed the first one.
Well, from right off the rip, and I'm also like a little bit of an optimist, and I'll suspend my disbelief, and and kind of weather some garbage and continue and just like muscle through some bad stuff, and then, well, it began to worry me right off right from the beginning, and I won't go into details, so no spoilers. And then, as we're watching, I'm like, okay, a story just needs to have characters who want a very specific thing, let's just say 2, and that specific thing clashes. And I did not know who was the main bad guy, what that person wanted. I didn't know at one point she wanted her boyfriend back. Back he comes, and just never mind, sorry, I'm already in spoilers, that he takes over somebody's entire body. Never mind that guy, whatever his life was,
Where's the Tylenol?
We should also preface this by saying that David is an actual writer. He writes books.
I come at it, so I was looking at it from a story point of view.
Let's do it. Let's do a little plug. So I'm going to say, that's David's book. Go look it up. You can buy it. Right? You can still buy it, right, David?
Yes.
Buy 2 copies.
You can. I don't have anything close at hand, but this is the logo of the publishing house I use. It's Sky Island Publishing for the. It'll return because I'm going to publish a book this year. Sorry, this year as of 2 days from now.
That's okay. Plug away.
Nice.
Okay.
Love it.
Anyway.
That doesn't give. I have any authority.
That would give a little bit of credence to why you're so hung up on the writing.
Sure.
Essentially.
Yeah. Well, and I was like, you guys got a real easy job. Just show me who's the bad guy, make it obvious what they want.
Yeah.
And I can tell you to right now. I realized who it seems like it was, and there was, not to go spoilerish, and there was some moments that were redemptive. By that point.
Yeah,
we're supposed to care. I didn't.
I will say, after we wrap this kind of intro thing up, we're going full spoilers. We're just
nice.
Right
well, in that case, okay. I came into it with high expectations. It began to beat me up. At about an hour in, my wife goes, "What is this?" And I'm like, "No." was like, just, I was like, hold on. Just, and like an hour and a half, 2 hours into it, Simon's wandered off. He's 9. He's wandered off elsewhere. Brandy's on her phone. By this point, I've already started like just breaking my phone, texting Brandon like angry for real. Like, what are they thinking? And then, and then I'm by the last half hour, 45 minutes, I'm just laughing. I'm like chuckling at the decisions they're making at this point. I'm just laughing at this point.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's
kind of how our second. And Katie, you can kind of talk. That's kind of how we have screened it twice now.
Yeah.
I almost did again, just so I could have a better grip on everything.
And it wasn't necessary.
Good to hear.
I wanted to love this movie so badly. I wanted to love this movie. And I love the first Wonder Woman. I love Zack Snyder's version of DC. I love the kind of darker, grittier version of it. I think Wonder Woman was like the right balance of that. The first one, I've had the nice, colorful gold suit background on my phone for at least a year now, like in anticipation.
When you finished the movie, I was like, Katie,
you gotta take that off now.
Is it still there?
we saw this.
I had the exact same one on my phone as you for a while, and then as the movie kind of approached, I was like, I can't have this on here anymore.
I still haven't changed it because I don't know what to go to. I think I'm in denial because
I can send you one.
The imagery is what I really clung to.
It's a nice, lovely film coming out in March.
I was the same as you guys, where the more I saw leading up to it, the less interested I was, and I got to the point where when we sat down to watch this with my family on Christmas, and my younger sister was excited about it, I was like, I just need this to, whatever it's going to be, I just need this to be over. Like, I just need to see it and be done. And I think at one point I turned to Ryan and I said, this is boring.
Yeah.
Not.
I think we did too.
And she's a huge Wonder Woman fan. That's the first movie,
Wonder
just
Woman.
like, she was all day Iron Man chick before Wonder Woman came out, and totally converted her.
Yeah. And so for this one, we'll get into why. It's just, she's not the same. The story is not the same. I agree with David. I'm just like, I wasn't passionate about anyone in particular. I wanted to love it. I won't need to see it again. I fell asleep last night.
Yeah, she did fall asleep. I was like, if I'm gonna do this, you're gonna finish it.
It was a struggle. The first one was a struggle, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I made it through the first one. It was, we'll get to that too.
Yeah.
I was wondering when it was going to be over.
Yeah. You haven't gathered already. I was not a fan. Really just from the get-go. And kind of like Brandon said, I stumbled across the mall scene that was released, I think internationally. It wasn't even in English what I saw, but about a week before the movie came out on Twitter. And I
didn't even listen to the audio. It just auto played in my Twitter feed.
It was like it's like wire dance. All the action sequences are just like wire dancing. Like they just everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's such a contrast between like the real like harsh action that was in her introduction in BBS and then and Wonder Woman.
The forked lasso.
The lasso became
triple lasso.
I
didn't notice that until last night. I didn't realize that it was splitting until last night. I was like, oh, that's not how
she was Spider-Man. Listen, not to interject anything.
Wait, well, I feel like we're going to get down a rabbit hole really fast.
Hey, I'm stopping.
No, we're about to dive right in. Suffice it to say, I was not a fan, and I wasn't necessarily kind of like what Brandon said, as this whole thing has drawn on. And I mean, this movie was supposed to come out
December 2019.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
It's been pushed back, like almost like New Mutant style.
It's had 6 total release dates.
And
why
there was
didn't
actually
they release it in December of 19?
There was actually one of
can't blame COVID.
So
Yeah.
they were supposed to come in December 2019. Then they bumped it up to November. And then an opening came up in June. And this is their story at least. Patty Jenkins, the director, said that that ideally that's when they wanted it to release anyway, because that's when the last one released. But then COVID happened, and then it kind of threw everything in out of whack. So.
And they just kept, instead of just tabling it, they kept trying to 2 months, it'll be fine in 2 months. 2 months, it wasn't fine. 2 more months, it'll be fine. And it just, kind of kept snowballing. But yeah, so we can kind of start diving into stuff here. I guess expectation wise, I think all of us are kind of on the same page. The first one tonally was just, and I understand they were she's very much trying to embrace the 80s side of things there, but it was like being beat over the head with a frying pan that this was the 80s.
The 80s setting to me was interesting as an idea when they announced it, but the approach, which is let's make a 80s
sequence,
a movie that was filmed in the 80s, Richard Donner style. Like they get so hung up in this like Donner era Superman type movie, like the actual.
I saw a quote today from, I don't even remember where it was, but somebody asked him what his thoughts were on Zack Snyder's Justice League being released, and he said, "I don't know who Zack Snyder is, but I'm glad he's getting to release his cut."
It's awesome.
It was very funny. But yeah, as far as the 80s stuff goes, like that sequence where Steve Trevor's trying on the outfits, I was just like, this is going to go on forever.
It was close here and there. When he pulls the fanny pack around from behind him, that was the funniest moment of the scene. Like, they're like, okay, we got an outfit. And he's like, nice. And pulls that fanny pack back around.
Yeah.
I get the desire to do that. I mean, they did that in the first movie. They had her changing, putting on different clothes.
True.
Like, she's a fish out of water in the first
There was too much role reversal in this. Like,
I actually really didn't like that. When that scene came up and they had him changing outfits, I was like, well, this is exactly the same scene that we saw with Diana in the first one. And it didn't land for me.
I just didn't like how it was filmed. It was like they just stuck the camera on a tripod and
there were things missing. It felt almost at best.
I was.
Well, that's the least of.
It was like tomorrow. It was like they decided like tomorrow we're gonna do the Steve Trevor dressing scene. It's gonna be hilarious.
Their chemistry feels like almost to me. The two actors in this film anyway. Their chemistry felt just almost, but never quite.
They had great chemistry in the last one, which I think is why they brought him back in the first place. They needed somebody for her to play off of that wasn't. I honestly felt like she and Kristen Wiig, their chemistry was fine.
I thought so too.
She was kind of awkward at the beginning, so they needed a villain for her to play off of because it didn't work with Max Lord, and they needed her like someone positive for her to play off of because she has no friends. But I got it. From the 80s standpoint, I want to say this one thing to give it a positive. I'll give it a couple positives, but I'll say this positive part about the 80s, I got it.
Keep that stuff to yourself.
When the movie opened and they had the first, like the way it was filmed, the first scene where he's like speeding down the road in the red car, and they had the first couple of cuts where it's like Wonder Woman swinging through the city and saving people.
Yeah.
I needed 5 minutes of that and then to get into the rest of the movie. Like I understood it and I appreciated it as a nod to Wonder Woman.
I could have personally gone without the two opening sequences, the Themyscira thing.
That's what I was gonna,
or the mall thing. Like I understand
we could
that
dissect this scene by scene because I have something to say about every.
Well, so I read somewhere about the opening sequence that she wanted to have that Themyscira thing in there to kind of, for people who haven't seen Wonder Woman, the first one, to be able to.
No.
It was just such a.
If they haven't seen the first one. So.
Well, it's like they're trying to like Themyscira. The tone is so different from the rest of the movie, and they're trying to establish a tone that's not going to continue for the rest of the movie. So it's just, it felt like its own thing.
Right. Well, that's as far as positives go, that was like one of the only things I liked about this movie was
I agree.
the
Yeah.
Sarah scene.
It was, and when I say I could go without it, I'm just saying, in
Well,
the movie itself, it just didn't fit to me.
Well,
If
it doesn't. There's really no point in it because even
Right,
the
exactly.
lesson that Diana learns is it's like, well,
Ugh.
it never comes back at the end. It's
Yeah.
like I don't
Yeah.
understand why it's there. Besides what you're saying,
Yeah.
I thought though. I mean, I thought that was the only part of the movie that worked for me.
It was definitely the best action. It was the
I thought
least.
that Lily
That's true.
Aspel, little actress, I thought she was actually good this time around.
And you didn't like her
she
last-
was
She
much
was.
younger
Yeah.
last time, so
Yeah.
whatever. But this time, I thought she was, she
Mhm.
progressed a lot as an actress, and her like physicality was better than her like punching in the last one. Like,
Hello,
kicking.
mother. How are you
Yeah.
doing today?
She was. I mean, I don't want to talk bad about a child, but she just was lacking the last movie.
Too mature.
Yeah, I get you.
And the Hans Zimmer score was actually it was very Lion King
And Themyscira, you mean?
You mean
Yeah,
in
yeah.
that sequence or the movie?
in that sequence.
Yeah. Okay. I even have beef with Hans in this movie. This movie even hurt Hans for me. But
I know
They
Ryan does as well, from what I hear.
Yeah.
yeah, they
It
I
was-
agree. I did like the Themyscira sequence, but they totally wasted him.
they did.
I think
movie.
the Themyscira sequence, because it matched the tone of the Themyscira sequence in those scenes in the first movie,
Mhm.
seeing those images and knowing that was how it was going to start, it gave me hope that that's how a lot of the movie was going to be. And then it was just such a hard,
It was not the best way.
Well, I
to,
mean,
like it
was
yanked
such
it
a
It's
away.
the
fun-
strongest directing as far as action is concerned. That's the strongest that it
Mhm.
is in this movie.
Agreed.
It just goes downhill. Like
Here-
at least
is-
I don't know.
What struck me right off when it started with that was in the first film, there's a fight scene where she's all grown up. It's now the actor is Gal Gadot, and she's fighting, and as she's whooping people, to some extent, it's a little bit of a surprise how much she overpowers them, and everybody's kind of like, whoa, and all of a sudden she's like, doink, and they're like, oh, should we tell her? No, don't tell her.
Yeah.
So if she 10 years prior is competing with people that age then,
Mhm.
exactly how much of a shock was it? It kind of broke some of the immersion of the first movie for me. If she was already, if at 12 or whatever, she was already like as strong
Mhm.
as a 18, 20 something year old.
Yeah.
Why was it so shocking when she came out all just beast? Like, why is she the only?
That's one of the things that really irked me about this movie was, I kind of was talking to Katie about this earlier, was the lack of attention to detail.
Mhm.
Even just little stupid technical stuff where, like, there's a scene where when Barbara meets Max Lord for the first time, and he does his whole like, life is
thing.
good, but it
Could
it
be better.
Mhm.
He goes, life is good, and then he goes, but it could be better, and he changes his hand from the point.
It's
to
not even the
this.
same thing. Yeah,
And they
I didn't
switched the
notice that.
angle, and he switched back to the other one. Like,
The
and then there's
Those-
another one
those
where
break things for me
when
sometimes.
Steve is sitting in her apartment, and he turns from the window and looks back, is where he's finding the watch that's sitting on the shelf. He like turns around and he like looks up, and like something catches his eye, and then they change the camera angle, and the watch is like down below. Like, I'm just like, these are things that just like really like took me out of the movie, and it was just almost like it was just lazy, a lot of the mistakes that were made.
Yeah.
It
So, I don't
definitely
know.
felt so much more amateur in execution than the first one. For
Yeah.
what, and I don't know who's to blame for that.
Yeah. And we can
Yeah, I
kind of
mean,
talk about the
we
Jeff
have our
Jones
own-
thing too.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
we have our own like beef with the executives and writers that were involved during the kind of creation of this, and that's honestly where a lot of, I guess, our hesitation came from in the beginning. And Snyder even went on record saying that even though he's been super supportive
sure.
of this movie, he's blatantly said that he had no involvement in it, even though his
Yeah.
production company is tagged.
I mean, he's supporting Friends. That's what he's doing.
yeah.
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 There was a point where it felt, I don't remember how far along before the Middle East, where some of the decisions and some of the motivations for the characters, I was like, did a 14-year-old write this story? And then we get to the Middle East part.
Yes, his name is Jeff Johns.
We get to the Middle East part, and it's like, well, now this is going to happen in these events, and I'm like, should I know what this is even talking about? I'm not 14.
God,
I
the
was
setting
not
jumping.
I did not keep up with. Oh gosh, and even going over there, what did they accomplish? Nothing.
They
didn't
out in the middle.
accomplish
That
anything.
sequence you're talking about when they're in the Middle East, they're out in the middle of that like road in the middle of nowhere,
And
It's just
there
like a
he
camp.
is. Yeah.
And then she saves the kids, and then they
the
walk
worst.
around a corner, and all of a sudden they're in like this like huge city.
Yeah, I didn't even notice.
I was like,
the
what?
kids the kids couldn't move out of the way. They saw
No,
the
right?
caravan
I
coming
asked
like
exactly
miles
that.
away.
Those
It is
words.
a road.
Yeah. So just like convoys being flipped over, and like they're just playing with their soccer ball or whatever.
Yeah.
The lasso of plot breaking.
Yeah, they use
the
that
physics
for,
in this movie.
that thing
I
can
think
do.
Ryan may have mentioned this as far as the physics.
It was
It's
like
just
gravity was
they're
0.5
non-existent.
for everything.
Yeah. When
You kind of knew that was coming from Themyscira, though. That
I thought the Themyscira
not
stuff
applied.
was, as far as that goes, I felt like that was the strongest of the movie. Like,
and I agree.
I felt like there was less floating going on. When
there was
true.
a good amount of floating, though. I feel
Floating.
like in the first one, it
does
was
float.
like I buy these women as stunt actors in the
Yeah.
first one, and the rest of it, I was like, well, no reasonable person can
Right.
lasso an arrow that's in flight and.
Lasso a rocket. That's a Fortnite move. When it did that, Simon was in the room. She lassoed a rocket. I said, it broke it for me right there.
The
That was what
airplane
did it?
tail killed me.
That
I
was
like,
what I was like. I gave up at that point.
Yeah.
See, and
gosh.
then she's when she's in the flight. Okay, I'm sorry.
This movie's
Slight
broken his heart.
So she goes to this pilot who jumps into a plane. Let's just say decades beyond anything he's ever seen.
Yeah.
And he just
Starts
it
popping
in.
Can we talk
buttons.
about the plane now?
just
I'm like,
starts
I
taking
told
off.
Katie, I was like, I'm pretty sure he crashed in Themyscira on a biplane or something.
Right.
All right. She says to him, "I've never understood flying." That for me, I was like, what exactly does she mean by that? Because this is a human who can
We're
speak
not there yet,
hundreds.
Ryan.
She can speak hundreds of languages, and she's clearly like
Yeah.
dang near
1,000
all
years
powerful.
Oh, by the
Yeah.
way, let me make this invisible real quick.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh
Only made a
no!
coffee
Oh
cup.
no! Don't yet.
Should we start at the beginning with the
The
plane?
thing about the plane is, I'm like, when that happened, I said, "Oh, Wonder Woman has in the past. Wonder Woman has an
right.
invisible plane. Nice.
Right. Yeah.
How? I don't really get it, but I mean, she's lassoed a rocket at this point. So
Yeah. Right.
she's like, I've never understood flying, and I was like, what does she mean? And then he begins to explain flying. Like,
Yeah.
oh, she meant she doesn't understand lift versus drag versus velocity. Is that what she's saying is beyond her?
It was
And what
a-
he
it
says
was
is,
a-
you got to feel the wind. You just got to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the wind.
It was
Never mind
such a
never mind the
creative
controls.
It was such a creative
So-
stretch to like. What they tried to do is bring that full circle when she was
They
learning how to
did.
fly at the
And
end.
then
I'm like,
she learned how to fly. She learned how to fly because of his instructions. I was cackling. By that point, I was almost falling off the couch.
let's talk
Katie,
about.
what were you going
Learned
to
how
say?
to. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Katie, you were going to
What's
say
up?
something about the plane.
Oh no, I had a lot of issues with the plane too. Starting
Katie,
with
yes.
I had a lot of issues with the plane, and I'm going to steal one of Ryan's in this progression because one, they're in the Smithsonian, and she's like, you know what? I know where I'm going to go to get a plane. The Smithsonian, where none of the planes are fit to fly or probably
Right.
fueled. She walks
Yeah,
up in the
fueled up.
80s, holds her badge up to a glass door that just slides open in the 80s. They walk through. He's like looking at all these planes that are clearly being dismantled because they're in the Smithsonian. They walk out and there's a fighter jet on the tarmac. And again, at
They're
the
cruising at like
Smithsonian, which is
35
a
miles an hour
museum
on
in
the
the
fighter
middle
jet.
of Washington D.C., there's an air traffic control tower where two guys are on duty in the middle of the night at the Smithsonian
At the
where no planes are flying. They get in the plane. It takes him forever to get this jet off the ground.
Up to speed. I thought it was about to surprise him. He goes.
Fighter jet off the ground.
Yeah.
He's like, I need
don't
to get
know
the
how-
speed up. I thought it was going to be like, oh, that's faster than I thought. I thought he was at least going to have that.
Oh yeah, or something. And then to Ryan's point, nobody puts a headset on.
They're
It's
just talking with you.
dead
It's like the speeder
silent.
thing in The Mandalorian. They're just like talking with each other. Like
And
this
they're
is like a
flying through
commercial airliner
fireworks.
is louder than it is in this scene right now.
They're flying through fireworks.
That was
which,
kinda
like,
cool.
At best, or maybe 1,000 feet. Like I don't know how far
Oh, true.
how high off the ground fireworks go.
250
but it's
probably
slow
tops.
for a fighter jet.
This is true. I didn't think about that.
and everything about the jet, I was like, this is wrong. This is so.
It was very wrong. Apparently, there's not enough fuel in any jet like that to go from wherever they were to Cairo.
And they had
and then there was that. We're gonna fly to Cairo.
Yeah.
The other
This
plot.
jet from the Smithsonian that didn't have fuel in it when we started.
They're out in the desert in that scene where she flicks the missile or whatever with the lasso, and then they turn around the corner and they're in like a metropolis, and then like the next scene, in order to illustrate that they're coming back to the States, they just show like a cornfield just go whoosh, and like then they're back in like downtown wherever.
Yeah,
I'm really surprised they didn't do one of those like top down like map views where they have like an icon of a like an Indiana Jones like plane put across.
Just
like the Wonder Woman logo as the arrow.
Yeah,
just,
right. or nothing because the plane is invisible.
Oh,
see a dot
just
going
map
across the screen.
You kind of needed that because Ryan definitely forgot it was Cairo.
Dude, I mean, this movie, it was just like locate, like whatever they had to do to get to a different location.
What a mess. Right.
Yeah. So we're kind of talking about the plane stuff with Steve and Diana. What do you guys think about Steve in general? Just them bringing him back in this movie, how they did it.
I mean, that was one of the elements to this movie when they announced that he was going to be Chris Pine was going to be in the movie. Mm-hmm. I was like, all right, well, I loved Chris Pine in the first one.
Same.
I'm excited to see him in this one. It'll be interesting to see how they integrate him in. But I was really worried that it was just going to be another like they're just introducing him for her to lose him again, and it's going to be the same as last time. Mm-hmm. And they did that, and it just okay. My biggest issue with this movie, well, maybe not my biggest, but how they say goodbye to each other. They're just like going down the street, and he's just like, "Okay, come over here. We got to go on the side of the street. You got to let me go. You're gonna like."
The worst part about it was
she had a very bad wig on when she was like delivering this. Like it was maybe a pickup shot or something. I don't know. Go back and watch that scene because
there were a couple wigs there toward the end. I mean, blatant.
She looked rough in a couple of scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
Just how like where she walks around the corner after they say goodbye, and you like hear him in the background.
Yeah,
like,
I'll never forget you, but I will because I'm about to die and I'll be nothing.
I'll never love again.
I'm about to cease to exist. I'm about to just cease to exist.
Yeah. It was so.
I don't understand also why he had to have like a surrogate body.
I don't
know that. I don't know that either.
Why?
The wishes could do anything. The wishes could accomplish whatever.
Oh, it's so ludicrous.
Like, that's true. The wishes could.
It was so fun when I watched that scene where they did the wraparound thing, and they didn't even bother to like.
We all saw it coming, right? When the camera was wrapping around, we all knew it was about to be him.
But they didn't even bother to spend any of their, I'm sure, massive effects budget to like make it like a transition behind his head or something.
Yeah.
They like panned him away, or they panned away from the camera.
Let's move you.
Like, yeah.
Exit Steve.
He ducks. The other dude steps in.
Yeah.
But when we were watching this the first time, Ryan, I turned around and I said to you, "Oh, they're showing Chris Pine for our benefit." Like the whole movie, throughout the course of the whole story, she's seeing the guy. Like
which is even dumber.
And she says it early on. She's like, early on she goes, "But I only see you," or something. She says that like in the second
scene.
scene.
Supposed to be like a reminder to them.
And they had to do that stupid
that was for us.
mirror scene in his apartment where he like
checks himself out. Yeah. He looks at his belly, and then he does something he says something real cheesy like, "This'll do," or something. Yeah. This works.
Would it have been more effective if we saw the actual guy the whole time acting like Chris Pine, Steve Trevor?
No. So
it's
for
tough.
me, this whole thing,
I don't know.
I don't think there's any
Having
fixing
him in
it.
this movie was so forced. They just wanted him back because everybody loved him, and it's like I loved him in the last movie. He was great.
Yeah.
but it was
I did
just,
too. And I
like,
think so.
they
I
didn't
think it
even-
was.
They didn't
Go
even
ahead.
bother to. If they're bringing the dude back, like his consciousness back to some other dude's body, like make him look the same. He had like gray hair and
Yeah.
like
I don't get why he was
Like,
older.
he's
what's going
aged.
on?
Where did he age? Right. And like,
if he was going to age, why did he only age like 15 years?
yeah. So in the first one, he's a spy. He's ripped. He establishes that I'm a little better than average. He knows he's got these ambitions to stop the whole war. In this one, he comes back and maybe the war is stopped. But like one of his first scenes, he's like, this is paradise. I'm laid up in a garbage bed eating actual Pop-Tarts. This is the best.
He rolls
best thing in the-
over and he's like got Pop-Tarts.
He's got Pop-Tarts stuck on him. Like,
I ate 3 boxes of Pop-Tarts and
Why?
coffee.
is that would that be luxury in 1940, whatever, like 1 or 2 or?
Oh no,
I
this
guess-
is World War One. Like
That
Okay,
that
World War I.
scene,
Even
his
earlier.
his like Babe in the Woods walk through in the city was agonizing.
It was funny, like the
Like-
subway or the escalator. That was funny.
okay,
Like, he walks
your
up and sees a
point-
trash can and he's like,
The trash can was a work of art. No, that's a trash can.
yeah.
I'm just
David, your point about like in the first movie, he's a spy. He is
He's a
above average
spy.
intelligence, which
Yeah.
that's my other issue with the plane. He's not. He can fly, but he is not a pilot. He is a spy.
This is
That's
true.
beside the point.
Yeah.
But you're the way you're talking, like this guy is above average intelligence, and we've jumped 60 years, not 200. Like, would
Yeah.
it go?
the only thing that they
Out
showed
there,
where I was like
yeah.
he would be really surprised about would be the space shuttle stuff.
Yeah, that's
He
the
was
only
stoked,
thing with the
yeah.
space shuttle.
And he was
But,
stoked
like,
about that. That was cool.
the idea that stairs can move now, like
Oh.
elevators and stuff. It shouldn't have been that outrageous to him, and a subway shouldn't have been that shocking. Like there
Right.
were trains.
Yeah, they were
Trains are
trained.
real.
Exactly.
So I think,
Yeah.
it could have been kind of interesting to him. We could have done the walk, but you could have shortened that way up and then really laid
There's a
into
lot of
like
fluff in this movie.
we're in space now, or what?
That was one thing that I
wasn't needed.
put a lot of stake in when I watch movies. How I'm like, if I get halfway through a movie and I'm kind of like checking my watch, like where are we in this, and it just feels really
Well,
slow. Like
Things are dragging.
I mean,
Yeah.
speaking of stakes, Ryan, where were they in this movie? Like
Ah.
everything, like
point.
it's like,
Yep.
oh, I renounce my wish, and now it's like everybody's good. We're all
Look,
good.
like, okay, let me say one thing about I renounce
reverse
my wish.
bomb explosions.
Right, materialize. Thanos saw the nuclear weapons that are flying.
Christopher
Like,
Nolan did it.
That's true. There's one scene where there's a guy who goes, "I want to be a king," and I mean, like
Yeah.
there's the montage of wishes, and it's cycling through. And there's one guy looks at the camera, he goes, "I want to be a king," and then some movie happens. We establish that we need to. What was the terminology to regress, whatever?
Renounce.
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 And it's the same shot, same background, same room. Could have been the same 30 seconds. They go, "I renounce my wish." It's like, what happened? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
What happened to you in those 30 seconds or 5 minutes?
Yeah.
How many days? What was actually supposed to be the time frame of this movie? Because it feels like it was supposed to happen over the course of
Yeah, that
I don't
irked you.
know 48.
48 hours to a week.
It's like 4 to
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like if you're looking at it maximum
That trip to
72
Cairo.
hours, this is how long this took, and that probably
Yeah.
doesn't help for the stake building at all.
Yeah.
Like it's too fast. You
Okay,
don't.
I don't even know what the stakes.
Develop motivation. None of it.
I'll tell you things I don't know. I wanted to like examine these, but just there are questions I have. Okay, so first, when he starts making wishes, he then replies to the person, "Now I take your shares, I take your this, and I take your that."
Mhm.
Why? Why do people just say okay? And I'm not asking for an answer. Second, he goes, what if he starts, "I need vitamins. I need more vitamins than I have. You see my eyes bleeding.
Yeah.
Clearly I'm off the vitamin C." Oh gosh, there was another,
Yeah,
another humongous one. It's like,
the health deterioration thing was not
The
fleshed
health
out well.
then what is he going for? What exactly?
The
what is he
kid
going
thing, his
for?
kid thing, I didn't feel anything about.
I
the
didn't
kid.
either. And I don't
Like,
have,
so, and I think part of that, I kind
Nothing.
of talked to Katie, like I think part of it was for like if they were going to involve his mom in the story, where you get like kind of that side of the story, and you like he just looked nothing like him, and like it just didn't help. Like
that didn't help
exactly. And you didn't have anything to know anything about his background.
That's an awkward thing to phrase and say, but it's just
like,
true.
You know what I'm saying though?
Yes.
Like if they would have, if his mom would have been involved, then you knew like
it's almost like they knew what they knew how bad it was
like
coming
this
on.
Kid who was just kind of like floating around the office.
Did you, Ryan? After I fell asleep last night, did you notice the montage scene this time of when they go back and show you a brief snippet?
You blink, you miss it. That's for sure.
If you blink, you miss. I didn't realize that they showed us his backstory.
You get 15 seconds.
2 hours.
Oh, 2 hours into it.
When he peed the bed.
Like we're supposed to. Right. His
I
dad
didn't even
loses his stuff.
I watched that. I was like, well, that's
I didn't know that was
that scene is intended to make us care. And it's too little, way too freaking late.
And explain it or something. And maybe
too
it would
little,
have been
too
more
late.
effective earlier
Also,
in the movie.
Maybe.
But
the kids, that's another one of those like scene or setting jumping things. He starts out in the office watching his dad like over the broadcast, and then he's outside like walking on the interstate, and then he comes out of the woods to find him. Like,
yeah. Just the idea of the kid is just such a like. It's such a like easy like go-to move on for the movie, like, oh, we're gonna give him a kid so
now they'll care. This will make him sympathetic. Didn't work.
No,
nothing was sympathetic about that villain or hero or whatever he was.
I also I don't know why I just thought about this. We were talking about the action stuff earlier. It was driving me nuts how every time they did a sequence with Gal, they would show her face like doing a slow-mo thing or whatever. She's like sprinting down the highway, and she's just like her mouth isn't open. There
was a really clunky looking
even
scene,
with the first one. I have a problem with some of the way they film like the bullet time stuff. Like in the first one, I'm not a big fan of when they have this like shot that's like with her, and and it's like obviously a CG background behind her or whatever. It's just, I don't know. I don't like the way they do that. And they did it even, I guess,
worse.
I just didn't like I didn't like how they handled her like expression. She's doing these like extremely like intense like movements, and her face is just.
Gosh, I hate that because she nailed it up till this movie. I felt like it was so.
They cut so many corners in this movie, and it's so obvious just watching it. But Brandon, if you go back and rewatch it, I guarantee you'll pick up on like at least 3 other little like things I was talking about with his hand or whatever. There was just very little attention to detail.
It's super sloppy.
Oh, okay. I want to say that regarding the music, regarding Hans Zimmer, if
sure,
the first film, there's a part. If I watch the first film right now, there's a scene, and I listen. Almost anything.
No Man's Land?
Almost anything. Anything good in movies can make me tear up and go like.
Sure.
Like heroic, sad, happy, anything that just nails it can make me tear up. And that right now I could watch it isolated and probably feel the same thing.
Agreed.
And there's a point where
it gave you chills. Yep.
Yeah, she's slowing down because she's like, she didn't know what she was up against, but she's not scared. And she's like to the point where there's this actual machine gun like dinging off the shield,
and you can really feel like the shield being like
and she's
back
like
into her.
And then it's 5 or 6 minutes after that she kicks into that building, and that's when the freaking music comes on, and it's like piled upon epicness.
They lost all of the grittiness of her action in this movie and turned it into like a ballet. Like
the mall scene, dude. The mall scene
so much by just having her only have the lasso.
The lasso. I agree. And
I hate guns. Like
her
whole life.
You sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But like why? And I don't think guns.
I hate guns.
I don't think they do that. I don't think they actually turn to powder. I don't know how hard they're squeezing them, but I don't think guns turn to. I feel like that.
We will not be doing that today.
The mall scene was like I was like, okay, so DC is done with darkness. The mall was. It just felt like here's some. Why is it taking so long to round up 4 dudes? She's a superhero. Why didn't she just lasso them? Nope, lassos these guys. They slip away like piggies that she's trying to like catch and put back in the pen. Catches the other ones. Humor. Swing around here.
The guy that like gets
save the girl.
Like
he's spinning on the thing. I was like,
They were still trying to go with what it would have looked like to do like a cheesy action thing in the 80s.
Exactly.
It took so long. And why did she take out the cameras?
Why?
It makes.
Why did she smash?
It makes
Why did she smash the camera?
And it wasn't
She's
even at the
trying to
beginning.
maintain a low profile, but she only
Okay.
does it for like the first 2 minutes of the
For one-
movie. And then
Add
she-
this to your
For one
continuity
scene,
list.
for one scene, and it wasn't even the beginning. It wasn't until somebody did something that she's like, "Oh, you naughty boy!" Blang, starts taking out the cameras.
No, she's Irish, Scottish. You're not
That was
boy.
the look on her face. She had that
Hey,
like.
Katie, you want to give us your best
Yeah.
Amazonian accent?
No, I
So we can
don't.
round it out?
She just had that look, that like, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, so
Oh.
I appreciate the thought of trying to keep that continuity between the first movie and BVS, where she's, you know, not a thing like the public is concerned, but
Right.
it's totally copped out on it after this.
And there was
After
a
that,
point-
yeah.
when was it? I think it was kind of just when everything was falling apart, and there's a cop standing in the road going, Wonder Woman is, I don't even know where.
I remember
And
that.
like,
Oh, they said that?
I was texting
yes,
during that, and I was like,
he
"What?"
says that you can add that to
Wow.
your continuity list. She knows out the camera. She's completely low profile, really until the end of, I guess, like Justice League is when she's supposed to kind of come out of the shadows.
Okay, that makes
And
sense.
Not even yet, yeah.
But this random cop calls her by the name Wonder Woman and says, I don't know where she is. She's supposed to be helping us.
That scene, I was texting Brandon probably when that scene happened, and I just like kind of looked at, I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I look at it,
You almost-
it was a serious scene otherwise, but that nothing seemed serious about that line. I don't even know where.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
It was
that's exactly
Yeah,
what
totally missed that one.
Yeah, I missed it too.
it was missable.
It was real quick. Yeah,
I'll be honest though, it was hard to concentrate for this movie.
it was. I tried so hard. I'll tell you where.
This was 2.5 hours, and it just did not have to be 2.5
What?
hours.
Of all the things in DC that we want to be over 2 hours,
Gosh,
this was
Like
not
maybe
one.
a Justice League movie,
Yeah, I know, right?
I think
Always gonna hold on to that.
but we can't complain too much. We
true.
got a 4-hour Justice League, the real one, coming in March.
Yep. Another
Thank
plug.
God.
Yeah, that's what I texted Brandon after this movie was over. I was like, Zack Snyder's Justice League in 3 months. Zack Snyder's Justice
Speaking
League in 3
of-
months.
The Snyderverse. Why ruin A Beautiful Lie in this
Oh
movie?
gosh.
I don't I mean, if y'all know do y'all know what Beautiful Lie is?
I didn't catch it. Ryan pointed it out, and when he pointed out that it was the same song, I figured that he showed me the scene, but if I was going to guess, I figured it would be the tone of the music, because
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer is usually so great at like matching that tone, that it would be when Bruce's parents were killed, and kind of that sequence. And it made sense, and it was absolutely wasted in that scene.
what scene was it in?
So
It was go ahead.
it was where she's on the ground, like giving her speech, like on the ground. He's in
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah.
the whatever,
Gosh, I was so
thing.
checked out.
but it's not, and it wasn't. None of the music was effective.
It wasn't.
So usually with
Ryan
he's
had to
my
point
favorite
it out, and I
composer,
just
and
think-
usually when I watch his movies, there are always 2 or 3 scenes that I remember because of the music,
Yeah.
and I don't have anything like.
I can tell you one in this, and I'll keep it short. It's when she's the convoy.
Mhm.
One of her moves, she pushes a truck sideways and then keeps up with a convoy going 80 miles an hour. She's pushing this truck sideways down the road, and then something flips and she flies into the air. And
Yeah.
yes, it is her theme, but it's kicked into full gear in her theme, and she's just slow-mo ascending.
Yeah, that's
And then
the
we
whole
cut to-
thing.
We
It
cut to
literally
Chris's
feels
face.
like
Chris's
it
face
really
looking at
feels
her.
like circus wires on all that stuff. Like she's got 2 wires on her waist, and she's just floating and flipping.
See,
And
I
Yeah.
didn't even remember that.
It
I
nailed it,
asked
hit it
Ryan
right
at
there.
the end.
Bray and I
the
were,
only thing that
my wife and I were like, they wrote, why the music here? Why? It didn't fit.
I didn't
The
remember
only
her
thing
theme being in it at all. I asked
was-
Ryan.
Yeah,
at the
Katie
end, I
asked
was
me
like,
yesterday.
did they play her theme at all this entire
It
movie?
was
'Cause
there,
he
and it was
wrote the theme.
bad.
Why would
Yeah.
The only thing I
right.
remember that I liked that was new was the kind of and they didn't even
Catwoman's?
really utilize it well. No,
Catwoman.
the cheetah
Cougar
where it was like-
woman, whatever.
Cougar woman. Siamese cat lady.
Selena Kyle. I mean, that's basically who she was. She was
Yeah,
like
she
Selena
was.
Kyle.
She was even a nerd. I didn't even think about that. It was what a tired
Yeah,
trope.
that's
What
I
a
told
cool.
Ryan this, but Melissa was like, she's doing the Selena Kyle thing from Batman Returns. I was like,
Oh, so much. What a tired.
Not as well, but yeah.
Tired.
yeah, not as well for sure.
Like when she was like beating the guy down the street, like that, like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Right. The guy who grabbed her.
Yeah, like that was the only thing that I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like as far as little things that they added on the sound side, I just
Mhm.
I don't remember it. I remember the scene, but I don't remember the motif.
it was just kind of like a semi-tribal-ish.
Yeah. It actually was kind of like Wonder Woman's, I feel like. In fact, at one point,
in a way, it was
my wife was like,
kind of
why are they
podcast.
wasting that theme on her? And I was like, and I'm listening for it, and I could see the similarities. But I was like, I don't think they're doing that. I don't think that's supposed to be Wonder Woman's theme. I think it's just
So
got similarities.
can I use this as a transition to talk about Cheetah? Start talking about Cheetah.
Please, we can't leave her unspoken about.
Because I'm for the most part going to defend Cheetah as a positive piece of this movie.
That was one of my favorite parts.
I liked if you talk about her theme being similar to Wonder Woman's musically, I think that makes a lot of sense because at the beginning, I thought it was really effective, it made a lot of sense that she said, when I said I wanted to be like you, that came with some really unanticipated side effects. And when she first starts, she springs up onto the stool, I will say in much different shoes than she came in with.
Yeah, Katie was like, where's those shoes
I don't know where the blue
That was
shoes
another
came
one of those things where
I was like, those are not the shoes you were wearing.
This
Totally
scene
changed
matter.
needs heels.
We don't need to go back to
That's why
continuity.
we need a woman's perspective
What
to
it is.
notice things like this.
The shoes were maroon and now the shoes are turquoise. It's irrelevant. But
part of the wish.
But that I liked that she grew into it, and that conversely we saw Wonder Woman's powers kind of decline as Cheetah's getting stronger, which I thought was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But she builds in a positive way until she gets to a certain point, and that point is when that music kind of kicks in, where she's really like, I like this power, I'm gonna use it in a way that's self-serving, and then she takes that next step and says, I'm not giving it up. And like that's the next time you see her, because something kind of happens in that dark alley. She realizes what's going on. She's been helping Wonder Woman. She's very positive about this new thing she's got going. Then the switch kind of flips.
I think there was and I'm not going to knock Kristen Wiig. I think she did as good as you could expect for that role. The thing that was an issue for me was, first off, there was just a lack of depth to her character. She gets mugged by one guy, and all of a sudden she's like, it's just this totally different person.
So
she was quite angry.
Here's your female perspective for 2 seconds about that. I think because, sorry, I'm not going to
go for it.
I promise. Yeah. Ryan's smiling in a knowing way. Just I identified with kind of the concept, and I know Ryan said I'm not on the Twitter, I have no interest, but that there's been some enforcing negative stereotypes conversation around like how they showed the men looking at both Wonder Woman and Cheetah when she starts to transform.
Cat calling.
Like, I think they probably could, they could have done a little bit more, but her overall frustration with men, like being ignored when she first comes in, suddenly everybody likes me because I look good. People like kind of treating me in a derogatory way because I'm female, but I'm not pretty and I'm too smart and whatever it is. Her on that is a little too bold.
I think I would have liked to see more of that. If
there had been more of that, I'm saying from my perspective, I probably recognize the progression more than you guys did. Yeah. But I agree that there should have been more before she suddenly is like ready to murder this.
She deserved a lot more screen time than she got. They should have pulled out all the fluff in this movie and fleshed out her character more.
Absolutely.
And for a character like her, in my opinion, you have to show the physical transition from Pick to Cheetah.
I didn't see it, but I guess the outfit changed to the point where like her butt was more flattered, I guess. Flattered, you know.
Well, I'm saying like so
Yeah.
Hair
from
was a little.
she turns
turned
at
into-
the end.
Oh,
she
that turned
turns
into the
from
cat.
human to the yeah. Like
Right.
that's what you have to show. Like you have to
Didn't-
show. Brandon's over
That's
there
a good
laughing
point
at
too,
you. I can
David.
see him. Yeah.
I didn't see the physical change between nerd and not nerd, other than
She took
I mean,
the
she
like,
shirt
yeah, I
off.
would've
she
liked
even
to have
had
seen
her.
that
She
too.
even had her glasses.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally thought they were going to do a Peter Parker Spider-Man. Like, oh, I don't
Yeah.
even, I see.
Yeah.
Not till
And
later.
the beginning of her transition was just a very much she's all that, like, take her
Mhm.
glasses off and
Oh, Jane,
At
she's
least-
got,
she's
she's got
cute.
glasses. Oh, she's got paint on her overalls. She's got a ponytail.
Yeah.
Let me fix
so
this.
That's one like people who
Mhm.
don't know people who aren't familiar with the character of Cheetah at all. Like Katie, we saw this with Katie's family, and she's like they didn't even know that first off Cheetah was a villain. Like they just thought that she was called like the apex predator because that's what she asked to be turned into.
Mhm.
Like, and the only like they did some like stuff where they'd have like taxidermied cats and stuff in the
Right,
background and
Simon
stuff,
noticed
but,
that.
like there was no like in the
I
fact
don't
that
remember
she,
that
yeah.
at all. I remember that from the promotional image, but
Right.
of her. But was that actually in the movie?
There
Oh,
was
Yeah.
They mentioned
It
something
was.
about her liking cryptozoology.
there
that
was
was-
yeah so there was a scene where it was like a bobcat or something when she was walking in
Yeah.
the office that was
Cool.
but
Wasn't important enough to remember.
Yeah,
like,
I only
you can't-
noticed it because Simon said something about it as that scene happened.
it's such a jump from her being this all of a sudden she's just like self-confident and then like they show her outside and she's a cat. I'm like
She's an actual cat. I
What
liked
a
her fighting
missed
better when she
opportunity.
wasn't.
what a missed opportunity
Agreed.
to show something absolutely awesome. Like
Well,
Howling.
speaking of missed opportunities, golden armor, golden eagle armor, or whatever it was, like, why?
Didn't do
like,
It was
anything.
wrapped in
It did nothing.
cardboard and string.
I did
and
not-
so
it seems like
I
they
didn't
were
get
going to
it.
use the golden armor as, okay, this is how she's going to fight Cheetah
Hated
because
it.
she's lost her powers.
Hated it.
But then she gets her powers back as she's like denouncing her wish. I denounce my wish. My wounds are
Yeah.
healing. I got to run to my apartment, get the golden armor for some reason. I don't know why.
I
that
didn't
she
even
has
see.
that she by the way that she has wrapped in like cardboard paper up against the
Yeah.
wall.
Also,
like, in the
it doesn't
corner.
even work from the fly. Now that I'm thinking about it, she's already learned to fly. She
Right.
doesn't even need the
Right.
wing.
That's what I was expecting. That was going to be the transition for her to learn how to fly was the armor.
Yeah.
Nope.
But-
that's
Did she
not
lasso
what
a lightning bolt at one point?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She lasted a lightning bolt, a cloud, a jet.
Uh,
I
Which her
did
dad,
not
her
think
dad
she
is
lassoed
Zeus.
a cloud.
So
I thought it was a distant.
Yeah. I mean, the
It was
lightning
I
bolt
just maybe it was
stuff,
so high up
I
that
thought
she
it was cool with
lassoed. I don't know. By that
Yeah,
point,
I
she
don't
lassoed a
understand.
missile, and I was out. She's.
I don't understand the need for the golden armor. I mean, it feels like
didn't either.
it feels
If
like
there was no
originally
need.
they shot this as like I was saying, and then
That's what it felt like.
because that whole Steve scene is such a tacked on thing with him with as far as her renouncing the wish. I just feel like there has to have been some like mixing around the things to where they had because it just doesn't make sense otherwise. I feel
So
like-
that's interesting because I was looking at a thing earlier on Twitter. So the first one, like some of the first images that came out of this movie, there was a scene where Steve Trevor was actually in the mall.
right. Looking
Um,
confused.
Yeah, and that one was not in the movie.
They're in
There,
the gold room at the
there's
Watergate Hotel.
with the TV screens and stuff.
Mhm.
That was also not in the movie. So maybe there's stuff out there that released the Jenkins cut.
Exactly.
Oh no, don't. Yeah, it's almost like toward the end, I was like, okay, they liked the cheetah fighting her with gold armor, and it's almost like the rest of the movie only
That was
exists.
such a weak fight.
It was so bad.
She was supposed like
She's
Cheetah
like-
is like
better
Wonder
before she
Woman's
was
like
fat.
big bad too. Like
Cats.
that's her like big bad.
She goes, yeah. She goes, all right. Can I redeem you? Can I redeem you? And no. And
Then I'm sorry.
Then I am so sorry.
I'm gonna throw her in the water.
Electrocutes her and doesn't kill her. What's she sorry for? Because she shocked
man,
her?
doesn't kill her.
Because she hurt her a little different?
Why are you sorry?
Why is she so sorry? She didn't even kill her.
Yeah.
Okay, so this
Did anybody even die in this movie?
No, exactly.
No,
That's
they
what I
don't-
was
they
talking
don't
about.
do that,
Stakes.
yeah.
No stakes.
Yeah. Agreed.
this was
I was
the
waiting
one
for a
where-
Man of Steel next snap.
Well, when we were talking about it, Brandon.
I'm so sorry.
Not my Superman.
Rips her whole head and spine out.
But
Fatality.
talking about her and how great her fight her introduction at the end of Batman versus Superman when she's fighting Doomsday.
Oh my
And
gosh.
Ryan was like, Cheetah's supposed to be her big bad.
Right.
I'm like, if she can fight Superman's big bad and kind of hold her own for a second against Doomsday, then
Right.
I don't know what the heck this is supposed to be. This is like
Yeah. And she was charged up too.
a
Like
side
that was
character.
Yeah.
Right, she's got Zeus
Yeah.
powers. It's almost like she picked up Zeus powers at some point. Which I get it. He's her
the daughter of
dad. Yeah, I get it. That's how she shocked, or she survived the lightning in the water, or whatever, the electricity in the water.
But if anyone who makes that connection at all, it just makes it even more disappointing. Like if this is truly supposed to be your big villain, you've got a suit of gold armor on, and all the most intense action we get out of that is that you're like swinging on a lasso and your like legs are all tangled and you're like trying to punch each other. Like that's
She flies
so
in.
worthless.
She flies in. knocks
runs
over a few
around.
security guards, and then Cat comes out,
Runs
slices
around the
wings.
walls.
She throws those off.
She slings the
and then-
wings.
It was just
No, I
there's
really-
no need for that.
I didn't get the armor. I didn't need, the need for the armor. And like, again, by this point, I was a little checked out. I was kind of texting Brandon, looking up. And and they were telling the story about what the armor is and why. And I just remember it was like, she required some armor that would help her fight this entire army. And this scene shows she might as well be in a barrel, and this army is like a mosh going on around her.
Was she
like she's not fighting anybody right there. I don't know what your idea of fighting is.
Apparently, whatever that character, I don't even remember the character's name. I keep wanting to say Artemis, but it's not that.
Is it a stereo?
Hysteria.
Good.
Syria.
Yeah. That
Cool.
sounds about right. Yeah,
Artemis.
that was like before, I guess, the Themyscirans had their own like island tucked away. Like she was kind of holding off, I guess, Spartans or somebody. I don't know who it was.
It looked like
Spartans, yeah.
Spartans. It made me think of 300.
Yeah. To let the rest of the gals get to safety or whatever, something. So she took the blunt of it, and
Okay.
it's Linda Carter. So
Was it?
Yeah, I really was like, did
Nice.
we?
I guess you
have
didn't stay for
this?
the end credits.
blame
Oh, I did. I saw that. The
Okay.
halfway
Or
through the credits
mid-credits.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, when
Speaking
I
of the
rewatched
credits-
it to see if
Speaking
that
of the
was
credits,
same.
no money for end credits. Let's just
No. Yeah.
like remember how awesome the end credits were in the last
Yep.
movie.
Yep.
This was just we're just gonna
I didn't
put
even
the little
notice.
like
I didn't.
80, the 80s like filter effect on it.
Yep.
And we're just
Yeah.
gonna do this.
Yep.
Yep. I really felt like the way that they did that, I really felt like the entire reason that we saw gold armor, that we had the Themyscira scene, was so we could get Linda Carter in the end credits. I felt that,
That was-
so strongly. If they had cut all of it out, I would not have felt
It was
loss
so
at
fan
all.
servicey.
It-
Like
Which,
It was
if you want to have
near
it,
the end.
if you want to have her walk through the end,
I've been
sequence
doing this
somehow,
for a
just
while.
fine.
Yeah.
She winks, doesn't she?
Yeah. A lot of winking in this movie.
I have
Yeah.
A lot of looking at the camera
Cannot
directly
wait.
and
It
Because
was
that little kid at the mall at the beginning.
yeah.
It's our little secret.
Okay.
it's our
Uh,
little secret that hundreds of people are
Yeah,
watching.
everybody in the whole place is video.
Stuff blows my
watching.
mind how people cannot figure out how to use humor in these movies.
It is.
They just don't they're not I don't know what it is. I feel like they see they're too beholden to like the Donner stuff, especially on the DC side. Like they can't get away from the Donner era of their movies. They look at Marvel and they're very, very jealous of how much money they make, and so they're like, all right, well, what do? They have levity, okay, but it's not just that. It's like
Yeah.
they're completely like missing, and because Marvel is not DC, they have their own strengths, and DC their characters are just different. They're gods. I mean, it's a completely different.
I mean, even the first Wonder Woman movie though, like the humor was good in that. from what I remember.
Yeah.
Like
she goes, the dress is choking me, and the lady's like, I can't see why, or like,
Yeah,
blame
like-
it. Yeah.
it was just kind of like it just wasn't forced. Like you don't have the changing scene with Steve wasn't like 2 minutes of him like fashion show like with a. I just
Part where she goes to the door with a sword and a shield. She's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it's not like
ice cream
it's
thing.
just
That's
a
the kind of
different
stuff
type
that
of
is
humor.
good. Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
it's not lowbrow, low hanging fruit. Like let's do slapstick like comedy.
Exactly.
It's like it's just like subtle and it's like chuckles. It doesn't have to be like belly rolls.
in
And-
your face, right?
Right.
And I'm sorry,
And
to
they
break
can't
to
do
them,
it.
but this humor is not belly roll. It's just
It's
so
cringy.
eye rolly.
It's cringy. Like
Yeah.
it takes you out of the movie, and you can't. One of the main issues I have with this stuff is they tried like this movie. They tried to make it all about heart, and I can't. You can't pull me from one side to the other, back and forth the whole movie, and like
Yeah.
expect me to like roll with you emotionally like that. Like you either you got to pick one and do things tastefully. You can't just.
Well, it's just
decide you
it's
wanna be a
also not
comedy
the
and decide you
character
don't.
to do that type of movie with. Like Wonder Woman
Yeah.
is not the character that you make an 80s like you know like a cheeky like
What made her so awesome was
so
the
cheeky.
the complete like for lack of a better word badass
Yeah.
side of you've never seen that before in like a female like that raw like in BVS and in Wonder Woman the combat stuff. It was just very like
She laughs. She gets knocked down and slides the gravel, and she
Yeah.
gets it with a smirk on
Right.
her face. Like that was
like she just
cool.
loved like that was an element that was super missing in this movie. It's like this chick's a warrior. Like
Yeah.
she loves like fighting.
She's here for
Right.
it, yeah.
And
Yeah.
but this whole thing
now
was
she
like
doesn't.
It kind of hurt
Yeah.
her.
Loves love.
It kind of hurt her character. I mean, it subtracted from Wonder Woman for me a little. This movie subtracted from her Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman a little bit.
they
I don't
tried
even- I
to
don't
do
blame- I
Grating
don't blame
to
her.
see it again in Justice League when that. I mean, it's not grating. Like it's going to be redeeming. I feel like
I
from
hope
my
so.
perspective,
I
Yeah.
hope so.
but it's such a contrast.
Mhm.
It's not the same. Wonder
you
Woman.
can't and they claimed all along when they were making this movie that it wasn't a sequel. It's not a sequel, but you brought Steve Trevor back.
It's absolutely
like-
a sequel.
It was- yeah.
They say that?
Well, it's
Yeah.
because they were in that like they were in this PR like time where they were like trying to distance themselves from everything that had came before because they're so scared that people will not come see the movie if they have any ties to like because critically the Snyder
Critically
stuff
is the
was
key word.
review bombed, and so they just wanted to. They're so like scared, even though the first Wonder Woman made the most money that
And
summer
it was really good.
and
It was
was
very
very
good.
well received. It was fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, but they still felt the need to like distance themselves. I think
Yeah.
they do that for every movie.
It's like it's a
Yeah.
confidence thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know,
I don't know either.
but
So the
Yeah.
the confidence thing is interesting. I feel like I don't know if we talked about it, Ryan, but I don't know that I want to dig into that too much.
Go ahead.
But it's
Fire
like,
away.
well, it's
Edits.
that's how I feel. That's how I feel about like when you guys talk about Jeff Johns getting involved in all of this.
Mhm.
Ryan said he's a comic, and all of my
He's a
context on
great
this-
comic book writer. I'll say that.
Yeah,
He's
all my
great
context
at
on this
writing
is
comic
just
books.
from Ryan. And if he's when I think of how I would imagine a comic book writer would want things translated to screen, he should be the most like stick to the spirit of the comics. The DC comics are darker, they're deeper, they're grittier. Be confident in that.
Yeah.
If you're a comic book writer and you're passionate about that story, then make
think-
that movie. Like why are you trying to betray the comics that you are a part of writing in the name of making it like the other guy? Like
Making it like something else.
well, it's because here's the thing.
But also pleasing these guys, pleasing
The thing
these
about
guys.
Jeff Johns is both he and Kevin Feige runs Marvel's side of things
Mhm.
as far as the movies. They both were like their mentor was Richard Donner,
Mhm.
and Feige went off and had humongous success in film with the MCU.
right.
And DC was like, all right, you're going to be our Kevin Feige. And so there was so much pressure on him to mimic that success.
Ugh.
And so
Yeah.
he wanted it so, and they wanted it so bad that he just got kind of lost in the woods with it.
Which is
Yeah, but it is interesting to
I have-
see, like, so Johns was not involved in the first Wonder Woman film, and he has been involved in a lot of the projects since, like Aquaman, where there's the same kind of issues with the humor, and
Yeah.
it's interesting to see what his footprint is on these movies. Like that, there's you can very distinctly see, and even in Justice League, scenes where like, okay, there's one person that worked on all three of these movies and no one else, like, like even the sequence in this movie where she's learning how to fly, like
that was so painful.
this could have been shot, like this could have been so cool, like Man of Steel.
Some people now. I mentioned that I jumped on Twitter to see if I'm the problem here. Right after I got out, I got done watching it. I was like, okay, is it me? And I jump on and I'm looking at people's reviews and so on. And I read some people saying the scene where she learns to fly, that was really good, or it was really touching or really moving to me. And so I guess good for them, because for me, it just flopped entirely. Nothing redeemable about that stuff.
Just the way, I think it was just a product of the way it was shot and how it was written for screen. It just, like, she's basically just up there floating, changing position. Like there wasn't any like
she was on wires against a green screen. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, and it's the same. Brandon, you'd recognize this with Justice League. There's certain scenes in Justice League where you just look at it and you're like, I think we know who kind of brainchild of this. Yeah. Like you can tell, like when certain people are the brainchilds of the way certain things are shot or whatever.
Oh yeah, well they're definitely
and
yeah, there's a lot of inserted type things that you can tell that it's like, all right, this was like a studio demand or a Jeff Johns, like he's got his fingerprints all over it.
Okay, tell me this. So there's a head somewhere up. All right, this is me coming from a place of utter ignorance as far as DC converting comics to films. There's some content filter that has to happen and say this works, this is not allowed, or so on.
Sure.
How did Chris Nolan make good movies? Like, how did he?
Because it was pre-Marvel doing their shared universe, making movies.
He took his approach to those movies was, I'm gonna make a movie about Batman that's not a comic book movie. Like he was trying to ground it so much in the real world that he was creating a movie that just kind of had the characters were the wrapping paper that was comic books.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's the second one is
that Todd Phillips was able to make Joker.
Right.
Oh, the best Joker.
I'm gonna take. They wanted to they didn't want that movie made, but Todd Phillips was like, give me the smallest amount of money you allow me to have. Let me do this over here that's not connected to anything you're doing. Let me have creative freedom and let me do this. And you saw what happened with it. I mean, where they, that's just, they can't like get, like, they just keep tripping over themselves essentially, as far as the execs and the people that are just like so envious of the
Marvel.
Yeah.
And we say all this, but this movie is kind of the last movie that was shot under a previous regime. Yeah. And so now they're moving towards this multiverse concept, which hopefully will kind of allow for more like let the filmmakers do their thing. And at the same time, kind of tying back a lot of the properties that have been successful in the past. So it'd be interesting to see how, like, I really, really hope that they hold to that, what they were kind of promising or wanting to do at Fandom.
So when you say multiverse, so it kind of doesn't require quite so much consistency between films, or doesn't? Right. Okay, they have to, because otherwise they're just ripping off Marvel. They have to do that.
There's a Flash movie that's going to be coming out. Yeah,
I'll believe
that. There's a Flash movie that's going to be coming out where Michael Keaton is going to be in it as Batman with Ezra Miller's Flash.
Yeah, I love the idea of that.
They're just it's more like you're not like, if a movie comes out, you're not married to that continuity, like,
right. Because I can't even judge. I've thought about how to judge Avengers movies, and I can't judge those as films.
Mhm.
For me, they're all just
Because it's more
another
like a
chapter.
serialized TV show.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
if
that's true.
if you allow that to happen, then you can convince me that it's not a sequel. But no one's going to convince me that this was not a sequel.
Same actors, same
It's
everything.
just PR.
Brings an actor back.
I'll say this one. I'll
Steve
say one
coming
other
back
good
in
thing.
Wonder
I know
Woman
that
3.
we're running. We already are an hour plus now.
Let's say the good things about it. Let's say all the good things
I'll
we have to say
say
about
one more good thing.
All right, guys,
I
I'll see
don't
you
have
later.
many of them. But and this is very small. It's not a big thing, but I did like the small little moment that you got to see the pictures of like Etta Candy and all the other like gang with like them like getting older, her like having to watch. I mean, it hints at her like having to watch them die because she's immortal. You know, like that small little touch was a nice little touch to have in the movie.
Yeah, I was kind of creeped out by the amount of Steve Trevor stuff she had around her.
They had to establish her motive. That's the only way they could establish her motive. And honestly, Kristen Wiig had the best motive, kind of the most pure motive out of anybody there. Like she has experienced this kind of oppression, or for lack of a better word, she there's something she likes, and she's figured out how to get it, and then all of a sudden it's about to be taken away. And in that scene, she says, "No, blam!" and freaking stops Wonder Woman. Now it's one of the cooler moments in it. And then it immediately devolves to her fighting guards and Wonder Woman lassoing guards. Nope, you don't die. You don't die. You don't die. Why?
That was another one of those little things I noticed when Cheetah grabs the lasso when she throws it at her.
Yeah.
And she pulls it towards her, Cheetah does, and Wonder Woman flies to the left.
Really?
And then back to
Yeah.
Maybe he had a sail. It's like the wind was blowing.
Yeah.
I like Kristen Wiig was the best thing to me, except for her cat form.
Yeah.
What she needs sharp teeth for.
Well, let's talk about before we kind of jump off. Let's talk about Max Lord.
I'd love to
talked about him, Pedro Pascal. In my opinion, they totally wasted him in this role.
Is he a supervillain? Is he from comics?
Mm-hmm. Yep. We kind of talked about his son. It just didn't carry any emotional weight with me at all.
It did. I don't remember.
And, I don't have kids. Brandon, David, do you know like?
It did. No, it didn't work.
Okay. Brandon,
it didn't work for me.
So it's so blatant why it's there.
He's a plot piece, and that's it. He's a piece. He's like, okay, here's the sympathy. We're going to anchor this kid to him, and that's going to create sympathy, because otherwise there's none. He doesn't do anything redeemable throughout the movie.
Other than he peed the bed when he was a kid and his dad didn't like that.
Which like, that's exactly as shallow. That's as shallow. Look, he got beat up for peeing the bed. No one should get beat up for peeing the bed, or at least not the first time. Maybe the 10th time. Exactly what time was this?
And maybe it was the 10th time. I mean,
maybe it was.
It looked very stained. It was
quite stained. Dude, that was a lot of pee. Assuming that was pee, whatever. There's a whole lot of it.
So one of the things that I felt like would have been communicated if you saw Cheetah's final transformation from human into Cheetah, and if you had put more emphasis on Max Lord kind of realizing his declining health, was how much they're willing to give up to have this thing that is so important to them, would have improved the stakes. Because if I would have liked to see Cheetah's final transformation, because it forces her to reckon with, this is what I'm willing to go through to get what I want. And Max and them just magically curing him by him finding people to make more wishes so he can take their health doesn't give me that. I don't understand why he's willing to sacrifice everything.
And for what? What was?
And it's such a missed opportunity.
Or to be the emperor of the world. That doesn't. The jump from con man to ruler of the universe didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, and just to throw this in real fast, just because it irked me as well. So he's talking to the president at some point, and the president's like, "Oh, I didn't even know I was in this room," or whatever. It's like, and he's talking to him, and he says, "What do you want?" And the president's like, "More, of course." I don't get
It is kind of like a catch-all. Like
I don't get what they were
Yeah.
going for with that. Are you saying that this is not a human? He is just, I mean, yet another plot. What? I don't know.
They took a lot of liberties with how that whole wish thing worked. They took a lot.
he really
in this superhero movie.
Yeah, I want more nukes. I
took a
want
lot
more
of it.
everything. I want this. I want this.
They were like
Why?
slowly building
That
his
what you
character
want?
the whole movie, and then in a period of about 2 minutes, like the intensity was like,
Yeah,
So it didn't sell. I didn't buy it.
he was
Yeah.
he was goofy. He's clumsy. I couldn't tell what he wanted.
You mentioned the cheetah thing, and we kind of talked about it earlier, but I remember I did want to mention, if I look back on like the Raimi Spider-Man movies, those are like the scenes that like some of the scenes that stick out with me the most, like the actual, like when Osborn like comes out with like the green gas and stuff, like when he's actually like becoming the Green Goblin,
Transition.
or Doc Ock
Yeah.
when he's in the room, the doctor's room with things on his back, and then they start just flying around
They're disturbing
room, knocking
scenes.
people over. Yeah, like it really like helps you to like understand like the freakish thing that's going
they're
on
they're
here,
disturbing.
and
But
like
also, it helps you too
backs up
because
the mental state.
none of these people, at no point did like Osborn or Doc Ock or Cheetah, at no point did they want to become a villain. And for the most part, no one in these stories wants to become a villain.
Mhm.
There's something that they want, but it's not to be evil. And so Osborn has these conversations with the Goblin where he's like, I don't want to be doing this. And Doc
Yeah.
Ock, his brain gets taken over. And to some extent, like, they could have done a better job of showing Cheetah where she's like realizing that she's losing herself, but she just can't give it up. And then
Yeah,
she
there would have been
crosses that
cool
line.
to have some duality there. I think it would
Yeah.
have given her a little more depth. Like she
That's
just
true.
like, all right,
He just
I'm heading down
goes
this
full
highway
with
and
Brad.
Yeah, and the
Full
same,
tilt.
and it could have been the same thing for they could have done the same thing with Max Lord to make him a little bit more convincing. I mean, to the same point, he wanted
Right.
to make a better life for his son. He wanted his son to be proud of him. He wanted to be admired, and he took it too far. So at some point, he loses himself. But to your point, the intensity just kind of suddenly is.
Frankly,
through.
I'm surprised they did
lose
not do that more, considering the nature of how they finished this movie off with like hope and like she,
Yeah.
the whole thing was like love kind of beats all or conquers all. Like
Don't cheat, don't lie, or something like that. Which was, I feel like
But
it was
you
shot
didn't-
up back to thermo, whatever the first scene.
Yeah.
You know, it was trying
Nobody
to
learned that. Whatever she wanted him to
thermal
think
underwear.
If we're
It's okay.
talking about actual positive lessons, no one actually learned a lesson. They learned,
Yeah.
I don't want to destroy the earth, but they didn't learn. Like,
I feel like maybe
it was so nuts outside. They're like, oh, I don't want it to be nuts outside. Not I want to
nuts
love it.
outside
I
on the
just
level
want
of
it to be nuts outside.
I
on the
asked
level
some
of-
guy for a farm. I didn't
Yeah.
mean here.
Yeah. Yeah.
why are all these Corvettes everywhere or whatever. It was Bruce
All these
Almighty.
Porsches.
It was straight up Bruce Almighty, God's answer in every
Yeah,
prayer,
you're
and
right.
it brings
That's
chaos
exactly
down
what
on
it was
earth,
like.
and that's a silly, funny thing. And it failed to register as a conflict for me. I was like, where? So it's just crazy. Things are just crazy.
It's like
Okay.
how wild can we make this movie and then completely undo everything that's bad that just happened?
Yeah, they're saying people,
A
saying
weak
everybody
concept.
that died came back when people are renouncing their wishes. Did people die? Does it really matter? Why did
Which
that
you
guy
never
not
really
want to be
get
a
full
king?
clarity on, like, is it them renouncing the wishes? Is it the fact that he renounced his wish? Like, I
it
never
seemed
like,
Right.
like
Some lady
when
died. Some lady
Pedro-
did die. Some lady died on the spot. She's like, I wish you guys would go back to Ireland. He's like, I wish you'd drop dead. And she freaking does right there.
Yes.
Well, they're doing CPR on her. Maybe she's revived. I don't know.
Yeah.
Must have. I think
That-
everybody.
that scene made me think about, made me feel like I was watching the Russian family in Justice League.
There's a lot of Russian family in this.
But
Yeah. I don't understand how this movie was resolved. I feel like we need to talk about the end, but I don't understand the ending. So
I don't either. She
Well-
she lassos his foot. Sorry, Brandon. Go ahead.
No,
explain it to me.
go ahead. Go ahead, David.
No, I definitely don't. I definitely don't understand. Like I said, checked out by this point.
It's like
he'd already said we established he had to have his hand on somebody to work, and then somebody says, "Well, yeah, this feed broadcast, and it touches everybody. Did you say it touches?
Yeah,
it
they were
touches
like,
everybody.
the particles actually touch them.
Oh, well then,
Figuratively.
yeah, figuratively touch. Oh, that works too. Suddenly,
Does it?
because why
Does
not?
it?
Right, and I guess it. And then he's standing there in the light. My son, my son. What is he seeing? He's standing in a beam of light. He's looking back and forth like, what's he seeing in there?
Really, all the wish stuff, like the scene where he's in his office and like they show something else and they pan back to his office and he's like, yeah, and the sex tape will disappear and it will never happen.
And perfect.
But I
Nailed
get
that
your
point.
congregation. He's like, but my immediate question the second time we watched it was, what are you planning to do with that congregation? Why do you need a mega church? I don't get it.
He's just trying to touch more people.
Yep.
The figuratively touch at this point.
Yeah.
So weird.
I don't know.
Brandon,
And
did
he
you have
gets-
a way to explain it to me, please?
What? No, I mean, as far as like what the whole like lasso of truth, like blinky
Like
light,
how
Men
they
in Black
resolved
trick.
this conflict. Like how did that happen?
She
wasn't talking to
She
him.
monologues.
Yeah.
Monologues.
She lost me on the monologue, I think.
And she's got her lasso of truth going, and it's beaming across the world, and it's making everybody hear it somehow, and
So she has her lasso of forced
convincing
will.
everybody to renounce their wish.
At the end of the day,
For no
dude,
reason.
this movie, you
Well,
never.
she made a
even
point.
got-
Doesn't she make a point about the lasso? Like the lasso doesn't.
There was a
I don't remember what she
brief
says.
moment. There was a brief moment when they showed us the golden armor for the first time.
Yeah,
She
that was the
used
only
it to
reason
see
they did
Trevor.
that.
She used it to show him. She said it doesn't just make you tell the truth; it also reveals the truth.
Something like that. Yeah.
So I think the
Okay.
best way I could understand it was that truth was then traveling through the figurative particles.
And
He'd been
was
conning him.
revealed to everybody, and everybody is good at heart. So they were like, "Yeah,
Yes.
you're right."
I
Everyone's
had
good at heart.
exactly that issue. I was like, is everybody in
Now,
the world
'cause-
that good at heart that they're
Now-
willing to
Exactly. Well,
renounce their
people
wish?
are. People are good. All right?
Everyone.
However,
Yeah.
it goes against the premise
People are
of the
still
first
good.
movie.
Men are
that
still
goes,
good.
That goes
Men.
against the.
Men are still good.
That goes
Sorry,
against the
Katie.
first.
Bruce Wayne said it himself. And I believe him.
I feel like the whole thing about the first movie was she wants to kill Ares, and that's going to fix everything because people are so good. And Steve is like, no, they're not. They're still going to be a little bit
Maybe we're
not
not.
good.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Yeah.
They kind
Whatever.
of threw that concept in.
But right, this isn't a sequel, so that's
The,
okay.
yeah. That at the end of the day too, like this movie, it left a lot to be desired because you never, other than the dorky mall scene at the beginning, you really never see Wonder Woman at full power. She's either
Struggling, right?
like losing her powers,
Hmm.
and then at the end, her powers won't do anything to beat the bad guy.
Right.
To use her last, like it just like a
Even though she
superhero movie without a
renounced.
superhero, almost like. And I get like they claim that was kind of what they were going for, is like
Yeah.
love conquers all. Like it's not fighting that conquers all, but like
I don't want to watch that movie.
Ugh.
Sorry.
I don't know.
Is that bad?
This is a
Nope.
superhero movie.
That movie's
so-
already happened and better elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of wraps stuff up. I don't know if you guys have anything that's itching that you want to talk about still.
don't
I
think
thought it
so.
was. Last thing I'll say is, I always got a last
One
thing.
last thing.
Oh, that's fine.
I thought it was really weird that they chose, not that they chose a Themyscira. They chose the Themyscira scene to film in IMAX, and they chose that very last scene at
Yeah.
Christmas to film in IMAX. I don't understand
Yeah.
that.
I was watching that too.
Oh,
The
God.
aspect ratio change.
Yeah, like
Hmm.
okay.
That's snow
so
though.
When we
Which-
watched it in the theater, like when it changed, I had it at 2:35 to 1 to get nerdy on you guys, and then
I
it
don't know
changed
what
to
that
the
means.
Christmas
Uh-oh.
scene, and I have
Yeah.
to hit a button when I noticed that because it was bleeding
Yeah.
over the top and bottom. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm going to change it to regular aspect ratio
During the
because
movie.
of the IMAX. Yeah, and Luna was like, no, I want to finish it. I was like, no, I'm just changing the aspect ratio because it's spilling over the. She didn't understand because usually
Poor
whenever that
Luna.
happens, it's when I'm turning the projector off. Is
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
it changes
Right.
to normal. And she
Yeah.
thought that I was turning the movie off, which I probably should have. But
No, she liked it, man. That's. I like Hobbit more now because she liked The Hobbit. I have a higher tolerance level for the Hobbit films because she.
I mean, that's the thing. I was able. I knew going into it that this movie wasn't for me, and I watched it through her eyes, and I just kind of talked her through it, and so I got enjoyment out of seeing her enjoy it, and that's about it.
You just reminded me of this. At some point later on, Simon was over there. He's like on top of the ladder thing over there on the slide, and she's like, Simon, what's going on right now? And he looks at it, and he's like, this part wasn't in the preview. I have no idea. Which typically he knows everything. He even when he saw the little cheetah up front, he goes, "Oh, cheetah!" And me and Bray are like, "Shh, no spoilers." Like he's typically spoiling things for us.
Yeah,
he was checked out.
I always watch these movies like. It's a good perspective to have, like the kids, side of things. But I always watch these movies, like, because I'm a huge fan of the comic stuff, and I do have to kind of keep that in mind when I'm watching this kind of thing. But I just, I want for me. For me,
Plus, what was the Middle East conflict for kids?
There's you could look at the Pixar approach. Pixar movies. Adults
or Disney, early Disney,
them and get a lot out of them on a different level than kids. Like you can still have it where it works for both angles, but
you can a good story will do that. I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just have to like we always like get on here and have these like heated conversations about comic book movies, and then like someone will bring up kids, and I'm like, oh yeah, the kids. I guess.
Yeah.
But anyways, that all being said, I do think that you should check this movie out. Like it's cool to be able to see a movie that after all of COVID this year where we haven't been able to watch anything, it's cool to finally be able to really watch like a blockbuster movie that is not necessarily like we had Tenet, but that's a little bit more cerebral. This is more of just like a rounded, targeted movie. So it was cool to finally see something that was of this scale again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least it creates conversation. So
agreed. Yep. I mean, that's that's what we say about BVS.
It brought me here, so.
Yeah.
That's the reason I'm here. Like next time, we got to find a movie I love. Okay,
we'll have a extended edition where David talks for another 4 hours about how much he loves this movie.
If I watched it again, I could. I don't even like doing that. I don't like ranting, especially if it's like recorded somewhere forever type stuff. I don't.
We'll just get loops of all of us nodding, and you
go back and watch it again, and then listen to the episode and see if you still agree with yourself.
Fighting with myself, like, no,
and
what
we
do you
get the
like
metrics.
That?
Yeah. All right. So I guess that kind of wraps things up. As far as DC goes, the next big project on the horizon or release on the horizon is the much anticipated for us, Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Oh yeah.
In 3 months, it sounds like. Not official, but that's what it sounds like. So
don't jinx yourselves.
We'll have to,
keep your expectations open for that.
Yeah, we'll have to do another little round table here on that one.
Oh,
and maybe like 5 or 6 more.
We'll be doing multiple round tables.
We'll make sure Al's not here. That's all that matters, really.
Mm-hmm. He can be into it, would he? I was wondering if he'd be here tonight.
Yeah,
I'm hoping he never watches this.
I didn't want to subject him to watching this. He hasn't even seen the first one, so
yeah. He would have been.
He would have been
Googling the whole episode.
He has no tolerance for superhero movies at all, does he?
Not anymore.
He likes the classics.
Okay.
But
okay.
That's about it. Anyways, all right. So that kind of wraps up the show. We are on Twitter at CAPECAST Show. We love chatting with you guys. Also, watching here on YouTube, feel free to let us know what you thought of the movie in the comments, and also stuff that we do that you like, stuff that you think we can improve. We love hearing that. So until next time, guys. Bye.
See ya.